I've had some questions come in asking how I approach the sound effects passes for the professional game cinematics I work on, so I thought I would kick off a redesign project, treat it like I would a professional project, and document and record the steps from start to finish. I found an old Warframe cinematic I'd saved away from a few years ago, and in it is a nice self-contained sci-fi action sequence that tells a little story and that I think would be fun to redesign. I'm only going to give myself a few hours to work on this, and that's a good thing. Most professional projects have deadlines or budgets, they've got creative constraints, they have platforms and specs that they need to be delivered to, and a big part of professional sound design is coming up with strategies to help get the quality sound design you want within those limitations. Frankly, 3 hours is not enough time for me to get this full sound effects pass done and do everything that I'd like to do with this cinematic. Because I think of a full linear sound effects pass as just a mosaic of lots of small, effective decisions, this deadline is going to force me to make those tough decisions and compromises to finish it. And that's what this video is going to kind of be about. I start with spotting the picture down. I don't work on the Warframe franchise, and I actually don't know the game outside of the cinematic, so I'm going to be approaching it with very fresh ears. Typically, a spotting session is going to be with the sound designer or the sound supervisor and the director of picture. I'll play the role of stakeholder and say that we need a full, detailed, immersive sound pass, we need modern, stylized sci-fi sound design, and we want it to be fun to listen to. Watching through this short clip, my reaction right off the bat is that this is going to fall into 3 distinct sections. Act 1 is just going to be about having this captivating intro where we're on this flashback still scene on the ground, and we quickly ramp up into the imminent danger that the character's in the air. We could do that by making a huge contrast between the still opening and a really intense incoming missile and explosion. When they come out of the other side of this debris field, I feel like we're in the middle section, Act 2. So there should be an opportunity to get away from all these explosions and missiles for a moment and communicate some of the other stuff going on in the scene with ground fire, turbulence, whiz-bys, to make kind of a nice ABA structure for this whole thing. There's a bullet that ricochets off their right arm brace here, and I guess the story in my head is that as they get closer to the ground, they realize that they're not going to make it in one piece. They activate this power, this magic force field or technology, sorry I don't know the Warframe universe, and one by one it's grabbing each projectile and sort of storing that potential energy to use later. I feel like when we hit the ground here, we're in the final act, the finale. We're back to focusing just on the character here, their force field, back to being busy and dangerous like the first act. And this will be all about building up that big, epic, dramatic Matrix Neo reverse bullet throw. I think the climax of the entire piece is the actual bullet throw, that whip of those bullets going by, and then the explosions sort of happen off screen in the visor. We cut suddenly back to that opening visor shot, and I think we're going to need the explosions at the end to carry over and smooth out this transition. Now that we've spotted it and have a plan, this is where I take the notes and start applying them to the sound design, building up a color palette that I can use later as a foundation to paint this scene together in the edit session. I've been building the color palette for about 40 minutes now, and I need to cut myself off because I only have about 2 hours and change to edit this together. Before I start cutting, I like to do a quick inventory of what I do have in the palette. Because I recorded the output of Reaper, all of the real-time adjustments I was making to the sounds are just being printed in long individual files. This is way easier for me to work with than to just kind of render out hundreds of different options and trying to name them and organize them. I just have 15 long files with each file being its own sound jam and subject. So I can pull them into SoundMiner here and just have my own little manageable database. And it looks like there's over 30 minutes of sounds here for just a 33-second piece. Everything else can be covered with my personal pre-made sound libraries and commercially licensed libraries. This approach leaves me over-prepared with material for the editorial, so I'm able to cut the entire picture together in one session. I've listened through these sounds and I have a good sense of what's in the palette, and hopefully you do too, because this is going to go off screen when I capture Pro Tools. I'm all ready to go, so it's time to cut to picture. I'm out of time on this edit. I've spent 2 hours cutting this together, but my job isn't done till I deliver this session. So I'm gonna do a really quick Foley pickup recording for the end visor scene that's driving me crazy, and then I'll prep the session down as if it was actually going to a mix stage. I've split the sound design into separate VCAs so they can easily be mixed together with music and dialogue. When we look at the clip list here, it looks like most all the sounds do come from the palette or pre-made material, which is great. Let's take a listen through each group. Those are the layers. Let's render out a QuickTime and take a listen to the full sound effects pass. This turned out to be a fun redesign. I, for the most part, got a full sound effects pass in and was able to record most of the process while I was working on it. And it was a fun challenge trying to do it all in one go as well. This is normally where I would evaluate how the whole thing went, the good, the bad, what could I do better next time. And I was going to spend some time and kind of react to this. But I think it's simpler to say that this is more representative of a first pass. I took what would normally be a multi-day process, I condensed it into a few hours, I made my choices, I had fun, and I hit my deadline. It is a cliche in the industry for sound designers and mixers to never feel like they've finished something, but rather that they've just abandoned it when they've been told they're out of time. And that is one of the best representations of professional work that I can give, is that feeling of, I made the best choices I could under the circumstances that I was given. I've shipped hundreds of cinematics over the years, and I have a blast doing it. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to this kind of work because each piece is unique. They all have their own individual challenges built in. The process that's going to work best for you is the one that clicks with you and allows you to be creative and to take risks and to hit your goals and have fun doing it. I'm Bryn, and thank you for listening.